Open up the door, it's Dave!
Who?
Dave! D-A-V-E!
Dave?
Right, man, Dave.
Dave's not here.
A few months ago, I went in my Model 3 up to Disney World, and I had to do the one charging stop along the way, and I took you along on the journey so you could see what it was like. Now I've got my Model Y and I'm doing the same trip, so I wanted to give you a sense of what it's like with a higher battery percentage, a higher range in my battery, to be able to take that same trip and go up to Disney World and come back. So let's take a look at how that worked out this time versus how it worked the last time. All right, so we'll go ahead and put the information into the trip computer here. You see that I have 100% battery charge, which means that I have 330 miles range, which is really about 280 effective. The Magic Kingdom is about 220, 230 miles, so I should be able to make it easily. Now, the interesting thing was when it first did the calculation, it actually told me I needed to make a charging stop along the way, which was kind of weird because I shouldn't have to. Then all of a sudden, as it was going through the calculations, it reset and decided I didn't need to make a stop. It said I should arrive with about 14%. Now, it adjusted a couple of times between 14 and 17, but right in that 15% range. And so off I went to head up to the Magic Kingdom. Great, everything's going to work out well. A funny thing happened along the way. I was driving along and I suddenly realized that I needed to use the restroom. So I'm like, wow, that's kind of interesting. It's been so long since I've driven in a car that could make it all the way there to the Magic Kingdom that I never really thought about the fact that I physically needed to stop and actually use the restroom. So as I'm going along, I'm like, well, I know I can get to the Magic Kingdom with about 17%. And the hotel I'm staying at would only be take another 2 or 3%, something like that, to get to. So no problem, I could park for a while, enjoy the Magic Kingdom, then go to the hotel, and then charge once I went to the hotel. But if I have to stop anyway and use the restroom, why not go ahead and do it along the way and put a few percent in the car and make it easier so my stop will be easier later when I decide when I'm going to the hotel. I won't have to stop then, and I'll be a little more efficient with my trip. So I went ahead and added a supercharger stop as I was going along, and then I can use that as the opportunity to go use the restroom and then continue on my trip. Just a funny thing that happened because I hadn't really thought about it in so long since the last time that I needed to stop like this, because every other time I've been able to just pull the car in, stop, and then use the restroom while it's charging. This time I actually needed to stop, so it was kind of an interesting thing that happened. Adding a charging stop is really pretty easy. All you have to do is just tap on the icon to show where the charging stops are, select the one you want to go to, and then click the little icon to add it. It will add it as a charging stop, and then it will route you there as a part of what you're doing. It will also go ahead and precondition the battery, which makes that a whole lot better. Of course, while I was stopped, I went ahead and used a couple of minutes of my time to clean off the bugs that were on the front of the car. It's that kind of season in Florida, and there's a lot of bugs, so I figure it's a good opportunity to just clean it. I always keep one of these yellow rags with me and a little bottle of water so I can just wet it and wipe them right off. When I get home, I clean the car, but at least it makes it easier on the way. So I made it all the way to the Magic Kingdom. No problem. Everything was great. Had a great day. Really enjoyed myself. Everything was terrific. Enjoyed my little stay up at the Walt Disney World Resort and then headed home from there. But here's where things get a little more complicated. I went ahead and set it up to take me home, to route me home. And it told me that I couldn't charge to 100% at the first supercharger I came to. I was going to have to stop on the way home. I expected to stop at 1 when I was leaving the Walt Disney World area and be able to make my way home, and I figured I'd make it all the way home. But it's telling me I need to stop for just a couple of minutes because I can't charge to 100%. Why can't I charge to 100%? Well, there are a couple of factors, including the fact that the superchargers tend to slow down once you get to a certain percentage in your battery. Some of them have limits to only charge to 80%. And then, of course, there are other factors, like in this case where I'm showing the video here, where there was a car waiting to charge. So etiquette suggests that you should leave before you get 100%. You shouldn't sit there for the extra half an hour. So that was what I decided to do. One other quick story for you. There was a gentleman who drove up in his Polestar that he had rented, and he pulled it into the Tesla supercharger. He had talked to the rental agency and they had told him to take it to the Tesla supercharger. He wound up talking to Tesla as well, and Tesla's like, yeah, you should be able to, but he couldn't get it to start charging. So he played with it for a few minutes and then wound up leaving and going to another public charger to get a charge. But it was kind of interesting that it didn't work, even though Tesla chargers are set up to work with anybody. So anyway, I went ahead and got my charge at the first place, got in the car, and I was ready to head home. So it was pretty straightforward and easy as far as that goes. It just took me the one stop when I left the Hollywood Studios, the Disney World Resort, and then a second stop on the way home to actually stop for about 10 minutes just to charge. So it was kind of weird that I had to do that, but it was fine. It really wasn't a big deal. It was just a mild nuisance. In summary, the challenge was that I couldn't charge to 100% while I was away, while I was at a supercharger. So I had to make one stop on the way home. So it was really no different on the way home than the last time I went with a lower mileage car. And that's an interesting thing to consider when you look at the big picture, that the higher mileage in here, I can go 330 miles, but there's a caveat. When I come from home and I can charge at home to 100%, that's not a problem. But it is a challenge for me on the other route when I'm returning home, because I can't put enough charge in it to make it all the way home, because I can't put the full 100% in when I'm at a supercharger. Now, there was a thought that occurred to me that while I was at Walt Disney World, I could have gone up to one of the chargers that they had there and actually used that charger while I was in the park for the day I was leaving. And it did turn out that there were 2 spaces available. Whether they were both working or not, I don't know. But it did turn out, I noticed that there were 2 spaces available. Had I plugged my car in there and let it charge up for some amount of time while I was in the park, I probably could have gotten much closer to 100% and maybe could have made it most of the way home, or maybe stopped at a supercharger to finish it off and finish that charge along the way. Maybe, but I'm not sure that I would have been able to. So that would have been the only other option. Otherwise, I'm stuck doing exactly what I was doing, and that's stopping along the way on the way home anyway, even though I have a car with a higher capacity battery. It's really interesting, isn't it? So there you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What's your point, David?